Greetings, my friends. Welcome to the next episode of the Mint Mob podcast. Jason here, joined by my buddy Alex over in Germany, coming off of a long vacation. Hope you had a good one, man. How was your trip to Dublin?
Hey man, yeah, it was actually pretty fun. It was good having some days off. It was not that long. It was actually just like 6 days, I think. Um, but yeah, Ireland, a lot of nature, a lot of St. Patrick's stuff going on over there. Like I visited the cathedral. I actually went to Northern Ireland as well. I checked everything out. A lot of beautiful nature, as I mentioned. A lot of old buildings, a lot of history over there, and yeah, I feel like people should visit it if they like the nature. If they want to visit it and just visit like Dublin or like the cities Galway. I think Ed Sheeran actually has a song about Galway. Um, yeah, it's if you like it, do it. But I'm not sure if you guys are going to be impressed, especially if you're out of some area with big cities around. And fun part is actually that it's freaking expensive, man. I went through the supermarkets and checked the prices, and I was like, hey, man, that's pretty expensive. It's expensive. And then I did a Google research and found out that Ireland is actually the second most expensive country in Europe, right after Denmark. And yeah, that was kind of a surprise. But yeah, back in good old Germany, while I was gone, Germany did the great move of selling big amounts of Bitcoin, and yeah, couldn't be more proud of my country. Yeah, we've seen the markets the past week going down pretty big. I think Bitcoin went to 53K at some point. Now it's somewhere around 56. A lot of volatility, a lot of volume. But yeah, what about you? I know you always buy some more if prices go down, right?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I bought some more Bitcoin all the way down. I picked some up at 53, just, small buys. I also bought a little bit of Solana, just still sitting on my ETH, not really doing anything with it, just staking it for returns. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was a tremendous buying opportunity for Bitcoin, and I'm in the middle of a remodel on a rental property right now, so a lot of my cash is tied up in that. So I was a little bit disappointed that I couldn't buy more, to be honest with you. But I didn't want to like spend all my cash just in case, an emergency happened and I needed to pull some cash and pay some other bills or something. But if I wasn't in the midst of this remodel, I probably would have put another 5 or 10K at it.
Yeah, I get that, man. I get that. You know what's interesting is that we have so many filings for ETFs, and we are expecting the ETH ETF to launch and start trading at the end of this month. Then we have the Solana ETF coming up, and if you look at the Bitcoin ETF back then in January, you see when it was leading up to that, markets were going up straight, and we had that little dump right after the trading started, the sell the news event, and now it's not moving like that. Do you feel like it keeps going down even like after the trading goes live, or do you feel like we will see a bounce before that?
I just think the selling and buying cycles are like feeding frenzies. If you chum the waters and get one fish from a school to bite, then all of a sudden all of them are interested. And it's the same thing in a buying and a selling situation. So buying basically creates more buyers, and selling creates more sellers, and that tends to be the trend until something happens to shift that. So I think what happened in this particular case, like you mentioned, Germany was selling a shit ton of Bitcoin. They, and in conjunction with Mt.Gox, who I think recently moved another 140,000 Bitcoin to a wallet that they're using for distributions. So between the Germany sell-off and the distributions, and then of course a holiday weekend in most of North America, we had Canada Day in Canada, we had July the 4th here in the US. And both of these populations are huge buyers of crypto. There just wasn't enough buying pressure to prevent the price from falling to where it did. And for me, that was good news, like I said, because I picked up a few extra satoshis here and there. But at the end of the day, now that we're back, that holiday weekend is sort of over, we started to see a correction. We started to see buyers come back into the market at those lower, like the mid to low 50s, and that's kind of where we're sitting right now. And so I think basically with the pressure, the selling pressure, that put pressure on the miners to have to liquidate a little bit because obviously their operations, are funded from the Bitcoin that they sell, and if the price drops, then they have to sell to make sure that they can, continue to operate. So, it's like I said before, like selling continues to create selling and buying continues to create buying. So probably what we're going to see right now is with it bottoming and kind of trending back to the mid 50s, we'll probably see a slow climb back up as selling pressure, starts to match as buying pressure starts to match selling pressure. And then we'll see where it goes from there. With Solana ETFs being requested, the ETFs coming online, AI, tech, these are really the only places that you have an opportunity to create generational wealth. I think this is really a once in a lifetime, maybe a once in our history opportunity. So, I mean, if you're smart and you're paying attention, there's really nowhere else to put your money. So as more and more digital assets are accumulated by funds, as more and more digital assets are requested in terms of ETFs for legality's sake, I mean, I think the buying pressure just continues to rise and continues to rise. And of course, if you're familiar with the cycles, we're kind of mid-cycle right now. We generally trend down after the Bitcoin halving, and we generally trend sideways. And that's generally how it goes for the first few months, 5 or 6 months after the halving, and then we start to trend upward. So, if everything holds true, summer being slow, buying pressure coming back online to match selling pressure, then ultimately we get what we normally see, which I think is that sort of, to steal from Raoul Pal, that banana zone start develop. Like we've got to get the base in, we've got to get the capitulation in the marketplace, like we always have to get before anything really starts to trend up. So I'm curious to see if it holds, but I think it will based on what I've seen. I don't see any other option in terms of where you could put your money that would be a better opportunity. So, I mean, when I look at like just the Bitcoin chart, for example, like I think Bitcoin since its inception is up 150% a year on average, and that includes all of the 80% pullbacks. So, I mean, even after all that, you're averaging 150%. You're not going to do that in the traditional market. So, I don't see another option for younger people. I don't see another option for people who are paying attention.
Yeah, definitely. To give people some context regarding the Germany sales. Germany never bought these Bitcoin. Like they actually seized these from a website that was called Movie 2K, I think. They were illegally streaming movies on their website and somehow got all these Bitcoins. I think it was close to 50,000. And yeah, Germany seized these and is now selling. And we already had some demands from a politician saying that Germany should actually stop selling these Bitcoins and try to keep it as some kind of reserve, because we see so many countries buying Bitcoin, holding Bitcoin. I know that El Salvador is very big in that game, and yeah, I'm not sure if there are some regulations that actually force Germany to sell these Bitcoin, but I feel like if they were smarter, they should definitely keep some. Um, but yeah, it is how it is. We can't do anything about it. They are most likely going to sell the rest as well. We see the market reacting right now. People expect them to sell, so there might be some people out there who sell as well. And it's funny to see on social media, on X especially, that all the big bears are coming out and shouting like, "Hey, we told you Bitcoin is going to zero, and it's just like a big bubble." And it's so crazy, and these kind of things keep happening over and over again. And you just mentioned the cycle. Everything is still playing out. Everything is still good. And I think looking at the cycles, when is the top expected? I think 540 days after the halving, something like that. And yeah, we are still good to go. We feel like it's a great opportunity to buy more, And yeah, we'll keep doing that as long as Bitcoin goes down, right?
Oh yeah, for sure, definitely. I'll continue to acquire every bit that I possibly can. Again, like for me, this is a once in a lifetime, once in a generation, once in our history opportunity, really, because we have technologies developing that have never been developed before, and with AI coming online and so many different use cases for it. I mean, when you think about what computers want to use, at the end of the day, like computers are going to use what is easy and fast. They're not going to transact in the typical, banking scheme using ACH or credit cards. They're going to transact with one another and then settle on a base layer like Bitcoin, that then settles on a base layer like the traditional banking rails. So, I mean, when I look at the potentiality of where growth really is, I don't see putting money anywhere else aside from maybe a little bit of real estate just for tax advantages here and there. You got to stay out of traditional markets if you want gains. The bond market is garbage. At the end of the day, if you're a younger person and you're facing inflation woes, crypto is really the way out, I think, for so many people. And, when I look at the landscape, I don't see another option. So for me, yeah, I'll definitely be acquiring on every dip for as long as possible. I mean, for me, this is a lifetime play. And yeah, I'm excited to see the cycle come to a peak, a year to a year and a half later, which is usually what it is. But between now and then, if we have pullbacks based on negative news or, Mt.Gox sell-offs or, some country like Germany selling off, to me, that's cause to celebrate. So I just look at that as more and more and more of an opportunity because my timeline isn't tomorrow. And I think, as long as your timeline is sufficiently long that these technologies play out, things continue to develop, you're gonna do great if you just continue to accumulate over time. And again, if you do have that long-term time horizon, the trading thing is not your friend. You just want to accumulate. So that's all I'm doing, man.
Yeah, and what's funny is that there is a tweet from Justin Sun. You know who Justin Sun is?
I don't think so.
He's actually the founder of Tron, and I don't hold any Tron, but he actually made a tweet and said that he's ready to negotiate with German government to buy all of their remaining bitcoins.
Oh wow.
And that's so interesting because I think it was about 2.3 billion US dollars, and it's so great to see that people who are actually part of the markets, um, to see how convinced they are that everything is going to go up, and all these guys just passing by and buying Bitcoin because I see it's going up now, I want to be part of it, and then they see it going down and then they leave the markets again. We got these guys, but the guys who are actually like who've been in the markets for years, these guys are so convinced, just like us, that everything is going to go up in the near future, and I feel like it's great to see. I don't think the German government actually responded.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like you mentioned it at the top of the podcast. You said there was I think it was an MP. I'm not sure, what you call those guys in Germany or whatever, but there was some sort of MP that was like, hey, we need to hold on to some of this as a reserve asset. I think more and more governments are going to continue to realize that, right? Like when you have, large corporations like BlackRock or, Van Eck or whoever, acquiring these underlying digital assets, when you have these guys talking about tokenizing real world assets, then you have governments like El Salvador and others and central banks acquiring digital assets. It doesn't make sense for a country like Germany to be selling these assets. It just doesn't. And I mean, I think the article that I read, and who knows what the truth is, but they basically said that they were selling the Bitcoin to raise capital, to raise funds. And so, when I look at that and I think about that, I'm like, well, why is the German government having to sell Bitcoin to raise funds? Because A, it was confiscated, like you said. It's not something that they planned on. It just means that they're just like every other government. They're mismanaging their funds. They're social program heavy, and at the end of the day, they're not going to be able to pay their bills. So when that's happening in a country like Germany, And then you look at a country as large as the U.S., like, what's happening here is insane. The U.S. has no hope in hell of ever getting out of debt. It's basically, I think the interest on the debt is the second line item, the second largest line item on the federal budget. The interest on the debt is actually larger than the debt now in terms of repayments. So, at the end of the day, like, these countries are just doing, I think, what they have to do, or what they feel like they have to do in order to stay solvent. And at some point that breaks. And that's when, that's really where crypto is going to shine, because none of this stuff can be confiscated if it's custodied correctly. And, if you're a younger person, especially in the States, I know Canada's really bad as well. Inflation has been horrible, and it's definitely one of your best and only ways out, to be honest with you. I mean, gold and silver are great options for like a base. They might keep pace with inflation, but they're not going to expand through it. So I don't see another option. And I don't really understand, if I'm Germany and I see the writing on the wall, and I see all these other countries and companies and central banks acquiring digital assets, I don't see why I would sell unless I didn't have to.
Yeah, definitely. And there are like more disadvantages to like gold and silver. I think we all remember the story you told us about you trying to get tons of gold across the border to Canada. And it's not that easy actually. And we all know the advantage of Bitcoin. You can actually take billions of money with you whenever you want. I'm not sure about non-custodial wallets if they will always stay non-KYC, or if they will be regulated as well. I guess they will, but for now, I feel like having we had that great discussion on Discord. I think you had it with guest user who actually invested in an ETF, and he was like asking the question. Do you think they're like what do you prefer, like what's better, like holding the assets or like investing into an NFT ETF? And I think yeah, you actually gave a pretty good point of view. Maybe you can we can tell people again.
Yeah, sure. Let me just pull that up so that I can refresh my memory. I don't remember exactly. Let me see what we were talking about. We had, oh yeah, he was talking about buying Bitcoin. Or, he had messaged me like a week or two ago about how to buy Bitcoin, which I was a little bit surprised by. I figured that, he already knew because he's already involved in the Solana markets. But basically, we were getting to this place where he said that he had purchased the Bitcoin inside a brokerage account inside an ETF. And, my whole thing is like, what is the highest and best use of the thing that you're doing, right? So like for me, when I think of blockchain, I think of the highest and best use being, tracking and accountability, right? There's no faking it, so to speak, like everything's public and it's there. When I think of the highest best use of an asset, and I think of wealth creation, wealthy people don't sell their assets, right? And the reason they don't sell their assets is because they have to pay tax on those gains. So it's much better if you can borrow against the assets that you hold, because borrowing against them is tax-free. So for example, I mentioned a rental property earlier. This is a property that we acquired during, the end of the 2007, 2008, 2009 financial fiasco, and real estate was bottoming. And so we bought this little condo, down in Phoenix for like $45,000. And we immediately rented it out, for, I think we only rented it out for like $550. Okay. So today that same property is worth over $200,000 and rents are close to $1,500 or $1,500 a month. And so it would be stupid of me to sell that asset if I wanted to monetize it, because then I have to pay tax on the gains and I lose the rental revenue. What's a smarter thing for me to do is to take all that equity and borrow it out of the property, because I borrow it out of the property tax-free. So let's say, for example, I took $100,000 in equity out of that property. Well, now I can turn around and keep the property, keep the rent, and basically buy something else with that cash. So in my case, this is exactly what I did. I borrowed $100,000 and I put $100,000 into the crypto market. I bought some Bitcoin, I bought some other things. and basically had to pay no tax on that money. But that one property has been leveraged into multiple assets, right? And then the tenant pays the mortgage for me. So it doesn't cost me anything, and now I control multiple assets instead of just the one. So if you buy Bitcoin through your 401k or through a brokerage account, you can borrow against your brokerage accounts, but it's not to the same extent, and it's much, much more difficult. Here in the States, like if you're holding real property, the banks are basically, they're very open to lending against a property that you have equity in, because they know that they can always sell the property and get their money back out. So when you think of wealth creation and selling something, you don't want to do that, because especially now that Bitcoin's becoming more mainstream, there's a lot of talk of Bitcoin banks. There's actually already a couple Bitcoin banks where you could actually deposit your Bitcoin and then leverage it, borrow against it, so you don't have to sell it. And, if you buy through a brokerage account or through your retirement plan, some of that stuff is going to be much more difficult or even impossible to do. So for me, I'd much rather custody it. And this was the conversation that we were having inside Discord. And if you guys want to jump in there, just go to the Goodfellas NFT timeline and hit the link at the top, and you can jump in the Discord and see what was said. But basically, leveraging those assets is a much smarter play, because now you can use the same amount of initial investment but control multiple assets. And if it's a rental property or something that creates cash flow, then that cash flow can actually pay your bill, can pay your mortgage for you. And then now you have someone else paying the bill, and now you're controlling multiple assets, and you don't have to pay tax on any of that. So it just makes more and more sense. And in the world of wealth creation, what you'll see is wealthy people never sell anything. They just borrow against one asset, buy another one. And then when that next asset appreciates or accumulates equity, they'll borrow against that and go get another one. But they never sell unless they have to or want to. They're never a forced seller, and that's really the key to this whole game.
Yeah, definitely. But I gotta admit, to be honest, I didn't really understand what was the issue that he had, because it doesn't seem too difficult to me, like depositing money on like Coinbase or Binance or wherever. Maybe he wanted to invest like a big amount. I think Coinbase has a limit of $25,000 a day, but yeah. Did you get what the problem was?
Yeah, I think his hang up was KYC. Like, he didn't want to have to go through all the KYC of, setting up an account with Coinbase or what have you. And when you can, like if you're inside a Phantom wallet or on some of these typical credit card based rails, like you can buy crypto with your credit card and not have to KYC in some situations. But if you hold an account with Coinbase, Coinbase is basically considered almost like a bank or an investment firm these days, and you have to KYC. So I think his issue was not wanting to KYC with Coinbase.
Oh, okay, got it, man. So it's interesting to see, because is there a service that you can use to buy? What service can you use to buy Bitcoin with your credit card and get it immediately?
I think you can just do it inside Phantom now, but there's pretty much all the wallets that you use nowadays. Like the self-custody wallet that I like best is called Exodus. And if I go inside Exodus and I want to buy something and it's not tied to one of my accounts, then they'll let me purchase something via credit card. And I think because, obviously if you have a credit card or a debit card, that basically means you've already been KYC'd with a bank somewhere, or else you wouldn't have that card in the first place. I think that's the way that they get around it personally. So like if I'm in Exodus right now and I click on Solana, for example, let me see what my options are here.
I thought there is like always some kind of third party that you have to that requires KYC as well.
Yeah, well, again, like if you're using a credit card, you've already KYC'd with the bank that's issued the credit card. So the reason, what I'm saying is I think that's the way that you get around that. I think that's how that you get around that, right? Because otherwise you would have to KYC with every single non-custodial wallet. But if a wallet's non-custodial, then by definition, and private, then by definition, they can't be tied to a bank and they can't collect your personal information. So there's quite a few wallets that operate that way. And then the trick is figuring out which rails you use to convert your cash to crypto, and then convert that crypto or send it into some sort of either coin scrambler or transaction mixer, and then you send that into your non-custodial wallet, so it's impossible to basically track down.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like, with all these talks about non-custodial wallets being KYC'd as well, I feel like, there might be some countries who want that and who are probably going to get that through. Like, for example, if Germany says like, hey, we want that KYC, and Phantom and all these other providers have to do that. I mean, there are so many workarounds. Like, you can just like use some kind of VPN and then get around it. So yeah, I feel like it's probably going to be difficult for governments to get that through, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like I'm looking at the service on Exodus while we were talking here. They use a service called sardine.ai. So, I mean, this is just like a credit card rail. So you can basically use your debit card or credit card with Sardine, and then they will deposit the funds back to your wallet. So, but again, if you have a debit card or credit card, then you've already KYC'd with the bank. So that's probably the workaround there. But yeah, Coinbase is completely different. It's basically having a brokerage account. And then of course, the other thing too is Coinbase tracks every single transaction. So there's no privacy there with Coinbase. And so I think that was his big holdup. But like you said, there's workarounds if you're willing to put in the work. Who knows how long that'll last? Yeah. That I'm sure that as the governments realize the value of these assets, that more of these things will get shut down. But for now, it's still possible.
So, I mentioned in the beginning that I've been gone for the past week and I haven't really checked out NFT markets as well. And when I came back, I jumped on X and tried to see if anything important was going on. And I think we've mentioned it plenty of times that NFT markets tend to move with the crypto markets. And obviously now we can see that prices decreased as well. But what's interesting is that I feel like it's been quite a while since we had a significant NFT launch, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's like a couple months ago, it felt like, every now and then, every couple of weeks, we had like a big launch of any project that was coming out that was having a lot of attention. And I feel like we kind of lack that right now. I feel like people are still looking at meme coins rather than NFTs, right?
Yeah, people look where there's energy, right? I mean, at the end of the day, unless you're of a more mature mindset, and it's hard, I know, when you're younger coming into this market because there's so many shiny objects, right? People get shiny object syndrome. It's like, all right, well, I can't, yeah. And then, they're looking from corner to corner of the room trying to figure out where to put their money. But when you do that, you're always late, and so the crypto market is one of those markets where whatever's receiving the attention receives more attention. It's an attention-driven market. It's a narrative-driven market. And more than any market in history, it moves fast. There's a lot of volatility, so people feel like they're constantly having to move their money around and chase this opportunity and chase that opportunity. And meme coins have certainly received the most attention of late. But, that will shift again. And so what you want to do is acquire quality assets, quality NFT assets before it shifts, because when it shifts, it's too late, right? Like right now, it's too late to buy meme coins. You're already too late. If you're looking for the next, $20,000 Bitcoin, you're too late. I mean, there might be a pullback at some point, but right now you're too late. So you want to be there before these things happen. And that's the thing that if I could just, open up someone's mind and pour the skill set in there, that's the first thing I would do, because unless you're a professional trader, you're going to lose. If you're looking at news to make your decisions, you're already late, because the news is reporting what's already happened, or someone is reporting what's already happening. And, you're not going to win that way. You're going to lose every single time. So you need to look at the trends. You need to become someone who can see a few, weeks, months, years into the future and see what's happening, and then buy based on your vision and let it unfold. And if you do that, you're going to do really well. But unfortunately, when it's attention based and FOMO based, and you have young people who are trying to escape inflation or look for opportunities, and they see every time they open up their social media accounts that somebody's richer than them or prettier than them or has more cars or bullshit than they have, then you want to chase all that shit. But that's not how you get it, right? And so, I mean, part of what we have to do here is continue to educate people. You know, we're at the very infancy of this entire market, whether it's crypto, whether it's meme coins, whether it's NFTs. And when you have companies like, BlackRock and Larry Fink talking about tokenizing the world, well, how are they going to tokenize it? They're going to use NFTs. That's what the whole purpose of NFTs is tokenizing real world assets and translating them into digital form, at least a digital form that can be passed from person to person. And this is going to be a major focus. They've already told you this. So you need to be acquiring quality NFTs, quality projects that understand this, like a lot of the stuff that we continue to talk about, and looking for these opportunities, which is what we're doing with our NFT collections. And so at the end of the day, all of the attention-based stuff is not going to get you where you want to go. You've got to have just a little bit of vision, and you got to have a little bit of patience, or else you're going to get fucked every single time.
Yeah, definitely. And I still see so many people showing up, especially like these so-called celebrities on X promoting some shitcoins. Yeah, just yesterday when I checked, there was some kind of, I think he's some kind of UFC fighter, Dylan Danis. I have never heard of him, but he was also like posting some Telegram groups and like kept deleting his posts after, and it's crazy. People still look for that one coin that is going to make them rich, and it's definitely the wrong way. But interesting fact, because I just got some notification here that Watcher Guru actually just posted 30 minutes ago that German government sells 17,000 Bitcoin worth 951 million, and it's the largest single day Bitcoin liquidation. So yeah, looks like it doesn't really seem to have affected the markets. But yeah, looks like we'll finally or soon get rid of that, and then Germany will have all its bitcoins sold.
Yeah, and this right here is like a classic example of how stupid governments are, right? And this is not just the German government, this is governments the world over, and why taxation is basically theft and why inflation is necessary. And the reason for this is because they have no real incentive to do well. Okay. If you think about this, and we've talked about this before, if government actually solved the problems they claim to want to solve, then they would be useless. You would not need them anymore, right? Like, just like if you're fat and you sign up for a weight loss program, you don't continue to pay your coach after you've lost the weight. You've already figured it out. The problem is solved. You go on to the next problem. But what government does is they introduce and create more problems because they have no incentive to fix the ones that they have. And this is a classic example of having no incentive to do well. So if someone gave you 50,000 Bitcoin, right, would you sell it all today? No, that would be fucking stupid. You would sell a little bit and you would watch the market. And then you would sell a little bit more when the market increased. And you would sell a little bit more when the market increased. And you might even buy some if the market dumps. And you slowly liquidate it over time because that's how you're going to maximize your returns. But when you have no incentive to actually maximize your returns or maximize the efficacy of a program in the case of government, then you get stupid shit like this where they dump a whole bunch of shit on the marketplace and then they get a depressed price for those assets. Why not just hold them for a year? You know, why not just hold them for 6 months? Why not see if the cycle is going to play out? You know, you can always dump it all at once if you see like it's going to go the wrong way, and you still have no accountability there either. But if you actually cared about people, and if you actually cared about funding these social programs and all these bullshit taxes that every government wants to put forth, then it would be in your best interest to collect as much money as possible. But because no one is actually responsible, they don't give a fuck and they just unload. And this is the dumbest shit ever. I mean, at the very least, they could wait until Mt.Gox is done unloading all their shit, right? At the very least. But what do? They unload at the same time as Mt.Gox is unloading, driving the price further down, which means they get less of a return. So, I mean, it's stuff like this, just, the average person would never, ever consider doing this stuff. It's just so ridiculously and monumentally stupid that it makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's good for us actually. I mean, if they sell all their bitcoins at once, or like within a week or two, we get good opportunities to buy. Um, but yeah, as you mentioned, they could have done it a lot smarter, maximizing their gains and their money. But as I mentioned, it's good for us the way they do it. And I actually have to say, because I just read another news, and I don't know if you know who Lionel Messi is.
Oh, yeah,
Do
for
you know
sure.
him?
Yeah, one of the greatest
You know
soccer
him.
players in the
Okay,
world.
okay. Right, man, right. You falsely call it soccer. It's actually football. We all know that, but um, but he is actually my goat in football, and he has like 500 million Instagram followers. I think he's the second most followed man on Instagram, and he just made a story on Instagram and posted a Solana meme coin, and it's crazy, man. I'm very sad right now.
Oh, that means you got to buy it, right? Like if he's your goat, you got to go buy his meme coin.
I have to, yeah. Water. It's called water, and it's actually, I've seen that there are some German, yeah, not really celebrities, but some German guys living in Dubai involved, and hey, man, it's such a scam. It's so obvious, but they have so much money that they can even afford buying like him, like advertising that shit, and it's so sad actually.
Yeah, I mean, but you can't blame him, right? Like at the end of the day, he has all these followers who are looking for reasons to feel like they're a part of his life, right? And so if they can buy some little meme coin with his name on it, then they're going to do that. It's just it's celebrity. It's the nature of celebrity, right? Like people think that celebrities have life figured out when they're just actual real people living their lives. They don't have any more answers than you or
Yeah,
anybody else. They just happen to be in a different position. And it's funny because you don't have to be smart or good when you get to that point. You just have to be involved. And so for him, it's a very smart play just being involved because he knows that with his name associated with it and the people on that team, they're gonna sell the token and they're gonna make some money, right? And it won't matter what happens after that. So, it's
yeah,
kind of
but
like
but
the
don't you feel
Trump
like you should
NFTs.
actually don't you feel like you should actually care about your followers a little bit, at least, like get a little knowledge about what you post?
Yeah, of course, yeah. But I mean, like if you're Messi and you're kind of coming up at the end of your career and you've made all your money and you've got a family and you've got other things and you just want to basically kind of sit back and enjoy some of the fruits of your labor. I mean, are you really going to take the time out of your day to sit down and start reading about crypto? I mean, after all the hours and years you've spent on the field, giving your life to other people, which is basically what a professional athlete does. You sacrifice all this time, you sacrifice all this energy, you sacrifice all this effort. And yeah, you get rewarded for it, but you can never get that time back, right? So why would you sit and waste the rest of your time trying to research and understand blockchain when you have people that you can hire who, can advise you? It doesn't make any sense. So, who knows what he's been told or who knows, the genesis or origin of the project. But at the end of the day, if I'm him, I'm not going to take an extra minute of my life and give it to someone else because I've already given half my life to the world. I want some of my life for me.
Yeah, totally get that. I mean, there is that other guy in football called Cristiano Ronaldo, who has been in the GOAT race as well, and he has been promoting his Binance NFT collection. And that guy is playing football in Saudi Arabia, making 200 million a year, and yeah, it's always going to be a big question mark for me. Like these guys got tons of money, and they still can't get enough.
Yeah, but like on some level, think about it. I saw this with my uncle, right? My uncle built a business and he was really successful. And, this was back in the 80s when, like $50 million was a lot of money, and he had created all this wealth. And of course, the people around him who worked with him helped him create it, right? Like he had a team of people. So later in his career, he started another company and basically put all of these people in key positions so that they could try and make their money, you know. So I mean, there's probably an element of fame and team around these people where it's like, listen, these guys have helped me. They've, served me. They've assisted me for all these years. What's something that I could do to help them? And if all you have to do is lend your name to a thing to get these people paid, then why wouldn't you? You know? And as long as you're not being disingenuous with people, as long as, like he's not out there saying, oh, this coin is it's the next Bitcoin. It's going to take over the world. As long as he's clear, hey, this is a meme coin. It's got my name associated with it. Who knows what's going to happen with it, but, we'd love to have you participate. As long as he's being honest and people choose in with their eyes wide open, and who knows, maybe he uses this to reward some of his team, then hey, go for it. That might be what's happening there. It's only when it's disingenuous and when people are lying and people are trying to cheat and steal and sort of, deceive people that it becomes a problem.
Yeah, get that, and it's actually interesting because I just read the Messi post on X, and there's actually a comment that is pretty much on point, and he says his followers aren't the buyers, us gambling again. His followers aren't the buyers, us gambling addicts already in crypto are, and yeah, that's pretty much it. And I just checked the chart; it didn't really move, and I feel like most of his followers will probably see that post and don't even interact and won't even do the research. So yeah, everything should be good. But yeah, let's jump a little bit into the good fellas as well. People may wonder when we will have another mint, and we've just had the conversation that another artist incubator mint is coming up shortly, and we will have a batch mint on our anniversary, which is going to be on August 5th.
Yeah, exactly. So the anniversary of our very first mint, which was the Bitcoin ordinals, is August 5th of last year, which is pretty wild to think about it. We've done so much in this little period of time. And when you think of the lifespan of NFT projects, we've already outlasted most projects that kicked off, over the course of the Solana NFT lifecycle and many other chains, I guess I should say, to be fair. But yeah, so the next batch, we're going to plan for August 5th. And we've got a little bit of work to do before we drop the next artist incubator piece, but we definitely want to get the next piece out before month end. Last week was kind of a throwaway week with everybody on vacation and me working on a few other things as well. So this week we're back in action, and hopefully we can have everything we need in place for the next artist incubator mint. But for sure, we'll have everything in place for the very next batch mint on the 5th. That'll be a nice little surprise. I actually already have an idea for a hand trait, maybe inspired by guest user 17. So we'll see.
Yeah, man, that would be great. And what I really want to do is trying to have some kind of community event on a spaces. That's what I would like to announce, like trying to get as many people from the community as possible and have them on spaces, talk to these guys, hear these voices. I know a couple of guys have been with us already. I think Charlie, Bilo, anyone else? I'm not sure if anyone else talked already, but yeah, that would be great. I'd love to get to know these people as good as possible, and yeah, so looking forward to every space that is coming up. And I think that should be it for today, right?
Yeah, I think we're good to go, man. We caught up, back on schedule. Everything's ready to rock. For those of you guys in earshot of our voice, be sure and check out Goodfellas NFT on X. And jump in Discord and ask questions if you're interested in a long-term project. We are here looking for ways to leverage NFTs and the technology as we go forward. We're not here as a flash in the pan, quick collect some money and run off and disappear type thing. So if you like collecting and you're of the opinion that digital art is the future and that IP rights are important and that tokenizing real-world assets is a good thing, then come join us. We'd love to see you there.
Yeah, exactly. As you mentioned, the past week we took some days off, but now we are back in full force and looking forward to the things to come. And yeah, this is it for today. Thank you everyone for listening. Hope to see you guys on Friday Spaces. And this is it. Yeah, see you guys next time. Bye bye.
All right. Take care, guys.